Open heart, open mind. Once again, I welcome you all to the Sattva project. Myself, Samiksha Kamlu.
I'm Samiksha Mishram, and we both are from the Sattva Youth, bringing Dharma to you and preaching Dharma with you. Sattva Youth is a Buddhist youth program initiated by the Sattva Project. So, before begin the session, first of all, on behalf of the Sattva Project, I would like to thank our streamer sponsor and media partners, Durian Asian and Durian FM. And also, there is one more important individual who manages all the technicalities in the background, our broadcast director, Brother Chong. So, may I request Brother Chong to come on the screen and to greet our audience, please?
Hi, everyone. Very good evening and welcome to our very interesting show today. So, please do like and share our post so that more people can benefit. And for those who will be watching later on YouTube, please subscribe and like as well. And now back to you, ladies.
Thank you, Brother Shiv.
Thank you, Brother Chong. So once again, I welcome you all. So as you can see, and as also Brother Chong has said, today we are going to have a very interesting session. So the most amazing thing about this session is we are all ladies today, all coming from different backgrounds, will be sharing their experiences. And as the show itself is named Joyful Living Through Arts. So let us begin our show with introducing our contributors today. Okay, so let me introduce to you our moderator of today's program, Dr. Christie Chang. So she is the advisor, event director, and dialogue coordinator of the Sattva project. She is the joint president of International Buddhist Confederation. She is also the president of Sakyaditha Taiwan. She was the chair of steering committee for International Lay Buddhist Forum from 2014 to 2019. She was also the president of Sakyaditha International Association of Buddhist Women from 2009 to 2013. She was also the president of Hawaii's East West Center Taipei chapter from 2015 to 2017. She was also the director of the Council on International Educational Exchange, CIEE Taipei, from 2001 to 2020. She holds her PhD in linguistics from the University of Hawaii at Muna. So, I heartily welcome you to the program, Dr. Christie.
Thank you, my dear
Thank you
sister.
for joining us. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, our first guest speaker of today's tonight discussion is Imee Ooi. Sister Imee Ooi is a music producer, composer, arranger, and vocalist who produces spiritual music and chant such as Buddhist mantras, dharnis, and hymns. She is a well sought after international record producer, composer, and singer. She performs her compositions in Sanskrit, Pali, Tibetan, and Mandarin. In 1997, she founded a record label I.M.M. Musicworks to publish her music. Today, she has released more than 50 albums with more than 500 Buddhist songs. She also composed and directed three highly acclaimed stage musicals, Siddhartha, Above Full Moon, and Princess Wansang, Aka Jewel of Tibet. We welcome you, Sister Emmy.
Hello, good evening, Samisha and Dr. Christie.
Okay, so the second contributor of this program is Uma Mudra. So Yumma Mudra Akka Marine Sabo started dancing at the age of 3 in the United States. An early career in Paris, she was 14-year-old in the Ballet Russe arena, Gretzbina. Okay, as a solist dancer, I don't know whether I have pronounced all this correctly, so forgive me for that. Okay, as a solist dancer, followed by the studies in depth of body techniques, Qigong, Karate, Shotokan, Black Belt, Hatha Yoga, women's dances. Later, she graduated in contemplative psychology and created intuitive Dharma study under the tutelage of Ringu Tulku Rinpoche. She's also the producer of cultural festival in Portugal for Roland Music, founder of the International Dangsa Dunde Network and author of two books. She travels with Razi on the path of a methodology of breath, translucid dance. Razi and Mudra resumed the study of wisdom through dance by the term choreosophy. Okay, so I welcome Yumma Mudra to this program.
Yes, thank
Thank
you
you
very
for joining
much.
us.
Yes, thank you very much.
Our third contributor of today's session is Charlotte Lim. Charlotte begins her path in filmmaking since 2002. She made her first film, My Daughter, in 2009. The film was world premiered in Rotterdam. It received the Grand Prix for Best Feature Film Award in Croatia. Abbas Kiarostami, as the head of jury for the Marrakech Film Festival, praised it as pure cinema and awarded the film Jury Prize. Shalley's work is known for her meticulously chosen images. This is reflected in films like Taboo, Amelisa, Hanger, and Bite. Charlotte also worked as the assistant director for Ang Lee, Tsai Ming Liang, Ho Yuhang, Anthony Chan, Tan Chan Kiet in films like Lust, Caution, I Don't Want to Sleep Alone, Rain Dogs, At the End of a Daybreak, Ilu Ilu, Wet Season, and Shuttle Life. We all welcome you, sister.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Thank you so much.
Okay, so the fourth contributor of our today's program is Ann Shaftel. Ann Shaftel is a fellow of the International Institute for Conservation and American Institute for Conservation, and also the member of Canadian Association of Professional Conservationists, ICOM and ICOMOS, since 1970, and has worked in conservation of Buddhist art with monasteries, dharma centers, museums, universities, and communities. Her work is referenced by international scholars and advised and blessed by Buddhist teachers. Treasure Caretaker Training, established in 1970, Treasure Caretaker Training is a non-profit organization dedicated to working closely with nuns and monks for the preservation of Buddhist treasures in monasteries and communities. So, for her ongoing project, so we have got a website here, so you can visit this website for more details. So, I welcome Anne Chappell to this program.
Welcome.
Okay, so I think we have got everyone present here. So we are looking
Mm-hmm.
forward to this discussion. Hope our audience is also. So now we hand over this program to Dr. Christie. Dr. Christie, everything is up to you now. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, our two dear submissions. All right. So, hello, everyone, our dear audience. Good evening, good day. I'll just say good day because for Anne, it's good morning. And for Yuma, it's good midday. So, and for Imee and Charlotte, it's good evening, like me. Yeah. And
Yes.
our
Good day, good day.
audience, yeah, good day. Wherever you are, our dear audience, I'm sure you're just as excited as I am after hearing the introductions of our four artists. Mine, what a treat having these two outstanding, artists all at once here with us tonight, or for me tonight. But anyway, so another heartwarm greeting to all of you. And since this is the first episode of our Joyful Living series for Sattva, let me start my very first. So, for your audience, for your information, our audience, our four contributors have also submitted. Each of them has a short clip about their work. So I'm going to ask each of our speaker to talk a little bit about what joy means, what joyful living means to you, and what joy means to your life or work. All right. So, shall we start with Imee, please?
Oh, okay. Wow, joy. When I was invited to join in this discussion, I said, wow, it's been a long time since I thought about what joy is all about in this samsara, yeah. For the last 30 years, working, producing Dharma music, of course, there are a lot of time spent in with sutras, mantras. Then so you meet the people in the Dharma, you learn so many things. But I have never really thought of, okay, so what should I be seeking in this life for? And that's equivalent to joy. So that day I thought about it, joy. So being um, a creative person, I thought, okay, what can I say for this three letter JOY? So instead of joy being a one word, I said maybe it's this justification of the very organic you. That means like in Mandarin, it's like 原来的我, which means like untainted without any adding anything into it. So maybe the very organic person that you are, it's joy itself. So this is the justification of how I'm going to justify joy itself. But I maybe to be nearer, it's like these 2 years in the pandemic, I find that the joy is by helping people lessen their suffering and pain and difficulties. I think that this is the closest I can remember what joy that really means to me. Like when I see someone being helped, so that's what I think joy is for the time being. Maybe there will be other
Beautiful.
realization later on.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
joy means to be a bodhisattva for all, for Imee.
Perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah, and that
Perhaps, yeah.
organic feeling, I think is
it's like
maybe about like authenticity. You are being authentic to yourself.
okay, because
I guess.
that's the word "oh," so I gotta think of something that it's like
organic. I love that.
okay.
Organic. Yeah, very natural.
Yeah, very
Lovely.
natural. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much. And we cannot wait to hear, to see, to watch, the video that Imee has submitted first. Shall we, Brother Cho, please? You feel the peace and joy in that short presentation. Thank you, Imee. You know, you gotta go to Imee's live concert. You know, I never had a chance to do that. I promise you, I went to how many? I cannot even remember. I went to the very first one, and many, even in Indonesia, I went. So anyway, we'll come back to Imee again later on. And let's move on to the dancer after music.
Hello. Hello, Christie.
Hello, Yumma. Can you hear me, Yumma?
Yeah, now I hear you. You're sometimes a little bit frozen, but now you came back.
Good, thank you. Let's pray that it will be okay, technically, for the rest of the night. Yeah. All right.
Please.
So yes, Yuma. So what does joyful living mean to you, or
Yes,
what does joy play
I
in your
relate
work
quite
or life?
quite a
Yes.
lot to the fact that Imee Ooi was how I say your name, Imee Ooi. That's
Yes,
right.
Imee
Yes.
Ooi. Yes,
Yes. Thank you.
that's correct.
Imee.
I,
Yes.
I really relate to this sense of organic because, as I told you before we started, I really wondered about what could I say about joy. It's not so easy, and I completely forgot. And it was reminded to me by a friend that I actually gave a whole workshop about joy, and she reminded me the whole thing. And so I really think, in my case, it's about how I felt as a child because I lived in a difficult circumstances. It was not happy circumstances around me, but actually I felt joy when I danced. And that thing always remained. It's a little bit like the click. And so for me, Dharma started with dance because the dance made me feel something good that is shining and that is natural, that is absolutely not tainted by any kind of purpose. There's no purpose, you know. It's not to please somebody. It's not to. It's something natural, and so yes, the Dharma. Then when I met really Dharma in my life, you know, as a practice, really something concrete. Gave me a way to relate to this difficult life of human beings on earth and even of animals eating each other and all this suffering. And how could I relate to that suffering? And as a child, I didn't really understand how come I'm here, you know. And then later, relating dance together with Dharma, and so also in a way, like you're really working fully into that. But in my case, I think I took it a little bit more like relating with people who are not really in the beginning open to any kind of mystical or spiritual in the beginning when I started, no? So I really wanted to work with people a dharmic path without telling them that's how it's called. So I really had to rename and rebuild the whole thing and find it also myself. So I actually the joy met the suffering. So it's like the suffering is something that is built, something that is closing our mind and our body into a colorful, playful hurt. Yes, hurt. And the joy is not. So that's what I thought I could understand of that idea of joyful living. It's not a particular way to live or particular way to do things. It's something natural that is not veiled. It's not covered up by hope and fear. If we want to make it a little bit resumed, hold the family of hope and the family of fear. Like I hope so much that I'm not joyful anymore, and then I fear so much that I'm not joyful anymore. But actually, the joy is also like sometimes I see a little cat playing just the last thing I can tell you is that yesterday I went through my village and people are very simple in this village. It's really a little village of people who live here since a long time. And they're very simple how they are, how they live. And I felt joyful the whole time I was walking this village for no reason. I just loved the trees and these people and what they tell me. And then to end, I showed the cover of my book to an old lady. She's Portuguese. She doesn't speak French. The book is in French, but there's an illustration on it. And it's the first time somebody tells that to me. The illustration is like an old lady, because in my book it's an old lady in 2046 who is a Buddha, and she's naked with long blonde hair, because I saw Tara that way when I was young. That's the way I used to see Tara. And so she looked at the book, that old lady. She doesn't know anything about that I'm Buddhist. She thinks I'm Christian. And then she looks at the book and she said, this is a saint. I said, how you know it's a saint? Because saints are always beautiful. That's what I feel about joy today, my dear Christie. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your joy. And I feel joy when I heard you. That's beautiful. Thank you. So without further ado, let's take a look at the video from Let's See Her Dance. Brother John, please. Thank you. Thank you. I can feel that you are one with the nature. Cute. And we'll now move to our narrator, Charlotte Lim, who's the film director. Charlotte, hello.
Hello,
Welcome to
Christy.
the show.
Thank you for having me
Yes,
here.
so this, of course, thank you for joining us. Charlotte, does joyful living to you? Or
Sorry, Christy.
And can you hear me?
You're breaking up a little.
Oh,
I think Christy asked you, what is joyful to you? Maybe you can
Yes.
just tell us about joyful.
Yeah, sure. So, first of all, I would like to express my gratitude for being here. Thank you, Brother Sharab, for inviting me. Although when he asked me to join, I was a bit surprised, and then I said, I don't know what to say actually. So after I give it a thought these few days, and when I was young, like when I was in my 20s, joy to me is always something coming from material world. Like if I have a nice laptop, or when someone is saying something good, phrasing on my words, then I'll feel a kind of joy. But then it doesn't last long, you see. So after a while, then the joy will transform into something else. So then I thought, is there a long-lasting joy? What is that? What should I search for, the long-lasting joy, or is that ever exist, the long-lasting joy? And then, I'm very new to Buddha Dharma. Like, I started to learn Buddha Dharma like 5 years ago. So I'm very, very new. And then what I think for now, until now, I think the biggest, the precious thing to me from what I learned from Buddha Dharma is the joy is something coming from within. Yeah, it's something coming from within. And like Chotni Rinpoche said, you no need a reason to be happy. You no need a reason to be happy. So I think I start to turn from outwardly, and then I start to learn to look inwardly. I think that is what joy to me. Yeah, for now. Thank you.
Thank you. I feel your heart. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So let us also take a look at the the short video clip Charlotte has submitted to us.
我曾经发过一个梦，我梦见有一条小河，河面上有很多很多的海马，这些海马都很整齐地排在河面上，顺着河水往远方流去。为什么会碰到那么多海马呢？我记得有一个Rinpoche说过，一个人在发梦的时候是不知道自己是在发梦的。如果他在他的梦中死掉，他可能就会以为他发的那个梦就是他真实的人生。虽然我没有在海马的梦中死去，我现在还活着啊。但是活着的自己，又能够对其他生命起什么作用呢？最好的方式就是一步一步的拍，透过自己的作品去诚实的看到自己，也唯有诚实的看到自己，才能够拍出诚实的作品。还是继续拍电影吧。
Now, let's move to Nova Scotia now. So, Anne, your turn to share with us what joyful living means to you.
It's Anne. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And greetings from Halifax, Nova Scotia, where it's getting quite cold because it's Canada. I feel joyful living here, but I feel joyful being able to be of service to you, everyone in the audience, participants, monasteries, museums, communities, individual practitioners, in helping with the preservation of your Buddhist sacred art that you use in your practice. That brings me joy. I have joy in my family and friends' life, which is very rich. Thank you. But there can be no joy without gratitude. Although I'm academically trained as a conservator and art historian, most of the information that informs my work comes from primary sources since 1970, especially from Buddhist teachers. So I have to express my sincere gratitude to Karmapas, 16th and 17th, Jampan Control, 3rd and 4th, Kamtrul Rinpoche, 8th and 9th, Gelik Rinpoche, Tranga Rinpoche, Trungpa Rinpoche, Punlip Rinpoche, who's on our board of directors for our nonprofit, Minja Rinpoche, Jetsumna, Tenzin Palmo, and especially Ani Pema Chodron, who's a special friend. My joy comes from being of service in preservation and also in expressing and constantly feeling gratitude to my mentors and those that support us. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you for the very important reminder. There cannot be joy without gratitude. So that's a beautiful reminder. Thank you. And without further video clip, Brother Tom, please.
Crimes against cultural heritage treasures harm the history of humanity, the knowledge of civilization, and centuries-old legacies. Looters and antique hunters target historical relics, leaving behind the wreckage of a nation's heritage. In a race against time, treasure caretaker training teams preservation experts with technologically savvy monks and nuns from Buddhist monasteries. Workshop participants learn to create digital inventories of their own monastery's treasures, using their smartphones and tablets for description, imaging, and video. With the dramatic and alarming rise in theft from monasteries and museums by looters and antique hunters, proof of ownership is crucial. Risk assessment and disaster mitigation training help each participant to assess risk to the treasures in their own monasteries and to create action plans before disaster strikes. Using their smartphones and tablets, participants learn to conduct and record interviews with elders in their communities. The digital documentation of these living stories ensures the history of monastery treasures will be preserved and shared with future generations. Treasure caretaker training joins scientific and digital technology with traditional methods and respect. Please support us.
So the COVID pandemic, it's the one big global issue now, and then also climate change. Now, maybe we should talk about, what is the people doing there in perhaps Yumma? Is there any effort? Because I think that has got to do with it's just to lessen the suffering, lessen the problem, and that's what will reflect in joy for the human being and the animals and the plants and the joy of our Mother Earth. It's so important to us. Yeah, right. If the Mother Earth is angry, I don't think any of us living on her will feel joy, no matter what.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
Actually, it's really difficult when it gets to extreme suffering to be in touch with our own deep basic goodness. But I think it's something probably that we can train into, because
So
I just want to finish, please. It's just that if we do not train into that, as soon as we have a wound or something difficult happening to us that is not really something we're used to, maybe, like, for example, we're used to a certain comfort and we don't have that comfort, or maybe we are afraid that we're going to go back to something very difficult that we once had to go through, and then we're back to it. And we're afraid of sickness and death, of course. And we're afraid people we love die, and lots of things like that, But if we can really use art, if we talk about art, art is not, it's, of course, it's a profession, but if we talk about art as a human behavior, as you said, the human being is creative, and the human being makes things that really remain among people, like beyond yourself. Like Charlotte makes a movie, and this movie is going to be seen by lots of people, so it gets into your memory as something very important in your life, you know, or maybe even something you don't remember, but it became important unconsciously, you know. And then all these memories of the teachings that Anne is working on to preserve this treasury, and the sound of mantras, how mantras can keep on being modern, even though they are forever, you know, forever in the past and the future. So this art expression of joy, I think it has to be in the same time not only the expression of joy, but also the art of not being afraid of our emotions, because our emotions can really make the whole thing become not simple. So that's maybe what I could work on. All my life I have been doing that.
Yes.
So it doesn't change. It's COVID or not COVID. For me, it's the same. You know? It doesn't change anything. I was born in a difficult family, so it's always a challenge to be on Earth, and in the same time, it's beautiful. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of little awakening here during the pandemic. In a way, you know, a lot of people suffer, but I also see the brighter side of it, you know, when the borders are slowly opening up and people could, you know, not lock inside the house. And we walk out, many of them told me that they actually find a new meaning in their work and being living on this earth. Now, Sharab is here. Maybe Sharab wants to continue with.
I got to replace Christie for a while since to the unstable situation of Christie connection. So I got a question for you all now. Since we are in the era of pandemic so how do your work help people to cope with fear? You know, before we talk about spreading joy or expressing joy, you know, how do your work hope to, you know, coping with all kinds of fear? You know, people say that fear is this false emotion appearing real, but it seems like quite real for us in this time of pandemic. You know. Yeah.
Can I just say a little thing on this question? I'm very interested, and it's very short. It's about breath, because when you sing, you breathe. When you meditate, you breathe. When you dance, you breathe. And the breath is also the part of this fear we're having now. So I think we all are creating a breath that can go deeper into the presence. So that's how I would relate to your question.
Mindful breathing, you mean, right? Mindful
the
breathing.
Breath, yeah, because breath is because COVID points out about breath and blood, how the heart breathes or the heart does not breathe. Because when you are sick with this sickness, your blood does not breathe anymore. And I'm not talking about where it comes from, politic, nothing. It's like the symbolism of that. The symbolism of that is like a separation between the lungs of breath and the heart of blood. And so there is really a possibility when you sing and when you dance and when you breathe, when you meditate, to make the whole of yourself be in touch with breath. And breath is how we communicate with all beings as a body, I mean, as people incarnated in the body.
Interesting. Breath. So, Imee,
Yes.
does what you must say connected to your work as well? As singing, we use the use breath as well, you know?
Maybe, but I didn't really work on it intentionally with that idea and concept on my mind. I just simply believe in the Dharma, the Buddha Dharma, and I am more than happy and very blissful to be creating, writing songs, and especially writing songs for the sacred text. So I think unknowingly, if I'm also doing the same thing, I feel blessed. Yeah. So, but it is never in my concept or intention that I'm creating this has got to do with breathing. But come to think of it, maybe that's so true. I may look deeper into it, and maybe I should just take care of my breath myself and improve on myself. Maybe I can do this work much better. With that concept on my mind.
Yeah, maybe it has become a part of a very natural thing in you, in your career as a singer and composer. Yeah. How about Anne? Did your preservation of Tanka's work bring people fearlessness and joy?
In times of danger,
Mm.
of course, meditation is really important. And any support we can give for preservation of the visual, tangible, and intangible representations that serve as examples for people's meditation practice is so important. And so during this time of Zoom, when I've not been able to travel to monasteries to do in-person workshops and help with preservation, the virtual world has brought joy and information in terms of preservation efforts to so many people, even in remote monasteries. And actually doing something with your hands and having a project that has a preservation of a community memory is so important, and it brings a positive sense of doing something, definitely overcoming fear. Fear is kind of frozen, and positive activity of preservation really helps. And therefore, I am available, not only like this, but so many monks and nuns from remote monasteries contact me on all sorts of social media and say, I have this preservation concern within my monastery, whether there's a leak or the wall painting is peeling, or else our dance costumes are getting moldy. So many different questions, which I'm delighted to be of service to answer, because a positive, practical, low-cost effort is so important, something people can do to actually move forward out of the frozenness of fear to preserve the sacred art, tangible and intangible, for future generations.
Okay, thank you. And how about Charlotte? Your points of view?
I think as a person, since more and I always have a lot of fear within me, and I think the biggest fear is towards the death. Yeah, fear of death, and I always have this idea, or I'm not sure if it's too ambitious. I always hope that I could make a film, and when people see that film, they will somehow reduce their joy, their fear towards the death. Yeah. So I recently wrote a feature film script, and the protagonist in the film, although as a story, you need situations, you need conflicts, you need certain situations to make the stories carry on, move on. So I somehow designed the conflicts to him, and always try to trap him in certain situations. And then I somehow the teachings of Buddha Dharma is slowly take place. Friends who had read the script, they will say that they have a taste of freedom inside it. So and I design a character where it's a deaf person, but he comes alive, and then he will talk to the protagonist just like a human being. So somehow I try to explore that fear of death. Yeah, I think to me that is also a healing process to me. I would say that. Yeah. Thank you.
So the fearlessness of living and dying. So today we're talking about joyful living through arts. I want to know, how do you achieve joyful living through the work that you're doing now? Maybe we start with Emmy.
Joyful living. I
Yeah.
think I just now during the beginning when Christy asked me what is my definition of joy, I've stated I have never given it a thought even until now. Now maybe it has got to do with my life journey. I'm 57 this year, and the first 30 years of my life actually was in a bliss without knowing. I thought that was natural because I came from a family with the elderly who are so kind, so compassionate, full of wisdom. My grandpa, my grandma, from both sides of my parents. And of course, my parents themselves, I think they are living Buddhas without even learning the Dharma, in those days when we are back in our hometown. But they are already a live example of what a very bright and righteous person, a kind person be. But then so naturally I thought that was joy. It's like you never seek for joy, so you thought joy, you never thought what joy is if you don't need to seek for one. And but after the later 30 years of my life, I came to Kuala Lumpur, and to 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 say a little bit of my history. Actually, I got a broken marriage right from a very early age, and then I went through infertility problems, so I couldn't bear a child, and then I adopted a child, and then I became a single mother for the last 27 years. So life was really turbulent, a big turbulence for me. A lot of challenges. I was almost broke in one stage, but I like music so much. I didn't want to give up music for doing something else. So all this, but I look back. Actually, all these years, I never thought it was hardship at all, because I think the first 30 years has made me a very tough person. So I thought, oh, I do have the ability to forgive someone. I have the ability to take on all sort of responsibility, being a mother, being a father, being a daughter, being a teacher, being a musician, being a Dharma singer, everything. So I think this routine, so this whole process has there's not one part of my life that I thought, oh, yeah, I want to give up everything and not go seeking for joy. It was never like this. So I think this sense of ability and this empowerment of a life that gave me a lot of strength all from the very beginning. I don't know if you could call it a karma or something that puts on my shoulder right from the start. And until today, I think it was the same right from I was born until now, despite all the challenges that I have and all the difficulties. But it was never a part that I would like to look back and say, that was those days I was really consciously seeking for joy. So it was just like a journey that I've drive through, and then I said goodbye to it, and I feel like I'm blessed that I actually went through this, and that's how those experiences made me what I am today. Yeah.
Okay, how about maybe Anne? You know, to say something about that. Seems like Amy talks about trauma, some trauma during her childhood. Will the spiritual arts of Tanka help us to heal our wound or our woundedness? And just suddenly a question come in my mind. By looking or meditating upon the spiritual Tankas, will you help to heal our life? Or have you helped to heal your life by doing this kind of Tanka visualization work?
I think working as a conservator with empowered sacred art has a whole different dimension than just working with, say, European oil painting for a famous museum. Working with the dimension of sacred art, sacred empowered art, is sometimes kind of heavy, and I'm very grateful to my Buddhist teachers for their guidance. If someone goes into a museum and sees, for example, a tanka or a statue, then they perhaps get the seed of merit is planted, even though they don't have direct instructions about visualization, because in fact, the purpose of sacred art, whether it is visual, a tanka statue, or whether it's intangible and music, sacred dance, etc., is to provide information for your meditation visualization. It all comes from texts. During past centuries, not many people could read, so they couldn't find that information from texts, and it was harder to find a qualified teacher. Now, we're very grateful that texts are more available through digitization. And so this comes all around to your answer about joy. And again, it's a one-on-one thing in you and your meditation. And if you're fortunate enough to have a qualified teacher to guide you in your meditation, that's wonderful. Again, we have as the goal generosity and compassion and caring for others. But actually, you have to do all the work yourself, all that hard work, through your own meditation practice or through your art, through your performing art, in order to get to the point where you can feel unencumbered when you're offering what you have to offer more freely. And also, there's always gratitude.
Gratitude as a practice of joyful living. Yeah, it's good. So, how about Charlotte? Your movie and joy, expression
Yes,
of joy.
Shara.
What's the connection between what's the connection between your movie and joy that you want to express?
If you have seen my film, there's never the joy coming out from the
Why?
film.
A lot.
And
You mean that there's a lot of dark side from your movie?
yeah, it's mostly I'm more
Mm.
interested in exploring the inner world, the dark side,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
especially for filmmaking as a profession, it's never a joy thing to do, I would say, because everyone have to work as a team, like 30 people or 60 people, and then everyone coming from different background with different characters. So when you put everyone together, of course they will have a lot of conflicts between them, and still we have to move on together. So, and everyone have to work day and nights under the high pressures, then under certain budget, under certain limitation. So it's quite a stressful work, I would say. So it's not so much of joy. So I don't know. I don't really have a questions for this. Then you probably will ask them, why am I still doing films? Why am I still making films? Why don't I do something else? You see. So
Mm.
maybe like Imee just said, like she loves music so much until she doesn't want to do anything else besides music. So I would not say that I love cinema so much that I would not do something else apart from cinema. Um, when I start to learn Buddha Dharma, I think I find a way to blend in Buddha Dharma with filmmaking. Like last year I went to Nepal, and I stay in a monastery, Chutney Rinpoche's Gachatling school, for about 2 weeks, and then I have a chance to do a fundraising video for them, you see. So I just brought a very simple camera with me, so I filming the nuns, from the kindergarten nuns to the Sherab nuns. So I think throughout that process of filmmaking, that's quite a joyful thing for me. It's something very different from when I work on set with the different professional crew. So when I shoot the nuns,
When you should none, then
I hope
yeah,
shooting
you're back. You're
shooting
back.
shooting the
Okay.
nuns. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, when I'm shooting the nuns, I would say that process is quite a joyful thing for me to do. It's something quite new for me to experience, you see. So before that, because my films is always about the ordinary people, it's never about the nuns, you see. So I maybe later I'll see how it goes. I'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll do a films on, I don't know, Buddha Dharma. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I was thinking, well, all of you should collaborate together, make a movie with some music from Imee Ooi, with some, tanka arts from and Yuma can do some dancing in the movie. I don't know. Somehow I feel that all of you should collaborate together, for one production. Okay, and
Yeah.
then okay, Charlotte,
Mhm.
I got a question for
And
you. Carl Jung say that
yes.
Carl Jung, the psychologist, say that one does not become enlightened by imagining
Mm.
figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. So, are your movies aiming toward that kind of direction, making the darkness conscious? Is it your subconscious intention?
Mm, I don't know, because when I have a chance to make a films, it's always for me, because it's so I would say every film is very private, like you and between you as a filmmaker and your film, your work. It's like how much you want to explore, how much deeper you want to go inside, you see. So I'm not talking about commercial films, then that is another thing, because commercial films is always serving the audience, giving them what they want, entertain them. That is another story. Because so when we as an independent filmmaker, it's always a journey for us to explore what is inside us, you see. So every film, every work of mine is just like a diary to me. So even like now, when I look back the films that I made 10 years ago, I will not be able to do that films again, because I'm no longer that person, you see. So now I will be, if I'm writing the same stories within the same context, then it will be something else already, because I've changed, you see. So I don't know, I'm very curious now. I'm start learning Buddha Dharma, and I have never done any work after this. So I'm also quite curious what I would write. But of course, I have a story in my mind, like it's about a woman at her 30s, who decided to become a nun. And then during this process, she needs to look for a new owner for her dog. And then in the process of looking for the new owner for her dog, and then she encountered a lot of criticism, like people saying, why are you leaving your old dogs at this time when the dog needs you the most? Don't you have better things to do rather than being a nun? All that coming to her. So yeah, I thought that could be quite an interesting story. Yeah.
What would be the name of the movie?
Maybe
The Nun and the Old Dog.
sorry.
Okay. No, just joking. And I believe that you have a question for Charlotte.
I do.
Yes.
Charlotte, as a conservator, I work with impermanence all of the time, impermanence of tangible things made of atoms and molecules. But as a filmmaker, your world is that of impermanence. I know one teacher, Kempo Sultram Gyatso, said that filmmaking and TV entertainment is a perfect example of impermanence, because there's nothing there. And then you create an entire world, and the actors are doing things that never happened. And it's so believable. And the world is there just for a moment, that moment of shooting, and then cut. And then that world disappears. And then you recreate another world. And then after the whole thing's gone, it's all impermanent. And then people sitting at home watching it or in the theater, they are drawn into this world that never existed. Do you ever see your art that way?
Yeah. But even for myself, right? I myself, as a filmmaker, although I know everything happens on screen, on the cinema screen, on the big screen, on the TV screen, are all not real. But for me as a person, it's so difficult for me to understand when there's a statement saying all phenomena is illusory. Me as a filmmaker, I find it very difficult to. I can understand that statements, but for me to apply that in daily life, to apply that, oh, everything is illusory, that attitude in my life, I find it quite challenging, even myself as a filmmaker. Yeah.
Okay, talking about illusory, it seems like we are talking about the Diamond Sutra. Everything is like illusion, impermanent and unreal, and transient. This kind of thing. And from my conversation with four of you, it seems like you and your work has become one. You achieve the oneness between you. You are the song that you are singing. Like for Yumma, maybe you are the dance that you are dancing, and for Ann, you are the art, the tanka, the sacred art that you are preserving. And Shalon, maybe you are the movie that you are making. So how do you achieve this oneness with the work that you are doing? Is it through any secret of your work, like how to become one with the art that you are doing, or the art that you're preserving? Any secret that you want to tell audience? Yeah, and
just a quick answer. conservation is based on science. And there is a big scientific gap between me and the oneness of what I'm working on. It's with respect for tradition and purpose of the art, but it's based in science. And that is very different from being a performance artist and saying I am at one with my art. There is science, and we respect it. We use it. Thank you.
So does it mean like in science it's a bit like dualistic kind of rational mind instead of becoming oneness, to achieve oneness with the art that you're doing, right?
I don't know if it's fair to call it dualistic. It's
Just different approach.
It's a skillful approach. It's a skillful means science.
Okay. Yeah. And Yumma?
Yes.
What's the secret for you to become one with the dance? No secret?
Most secrets are obviously in front of the nose. So, no, I think, I don't know if, if I'm really very interested in this meeting of the four of us. It's getting very, very deep for my experience now to relate to you. And so I hear everything you say, and I think really it's true that we are not on purpose joyful, and we're not on purpose whatever it is, but it's true that if we do find, like you said, Imee Ooi, like you felt, it's so beautiful that your grandparents were like perfect, or your family, it's very beautiful, like the Bodhisattva family, and then you feel something different. And even if you're not thinking about it and you're not aware of it, and in my case, it could say the same thing. It happens what Charlotte was talking about. It happens that actually you do relate with the darkness, because that's how something. It's how nakedness. Maybe what you're talking about, Sherab, is nakedness. Because to be naked, you have to take, you take away you take all of that away, and then maybe when you perform, you put back the mask. But it's different because you're entering the archetype. But you cannot enter the archetype when you are completely into this illusion-like emotional happenings of your life that you really
archetype. The archetype.
Archetypes. So I'm trying to relate to everything that has been said now and through my own experience. What I met most of all was the difficulty to relate with the suffering of my students. Because actually the core of my work was suffering, because I had such an easy way of expressing joy that I didn't understand why people wouldn't. Since a young age, I didn't understand why people wouldn't easily be joyful. For example, not joyful in the sense of smiling. I mean joyful in the sense that you really feel the authenticity of a true. It's the passion of being. It's not the passion of trying to acquire something or trying to prove something. And so it was difficult for me, and I really met with my students all the different ways of suffering, how they express, all the different ways of being. Hang on to my suffering, how I have a behavior inside of myself that creates something really dark in myself, but actually I don't want to let that go. And so actually if you use that in art, it's very interesting, because first you understand that you can actually use that, but then you have to do the opposite, is to understand how much maybe you don't have to hang on to it, so that you can express the darkness, but you're not becoming that. So that the archetype is possible. Do I express okay? The archetype in English, as you were relating to Jung, what Jung really, he went in the darkness, and he went in the darkness really very strong, this man, Carl Jung, because he really went into almost being crazy. Which an artist can really understand, You can, if you go deep into that fever of creation, you can very near to craziness, and that craziness is not so far from wisdom, but it's also not so far from hell, no? And so he really did, and he could do that thanks to his work with the stones. So that's also interesting, because there's the illusion, yeah, but also taking the stone as something that can make him stay stable and steady into some kind of health, the steadiness of mindfulness. It can be helped by actions in the world, like action with the stone or action with material or with your body, as meditation. You know, it's a kind of meditation, but the stones, for example, could help somebody like Carl Jung. So that relationship with suffering and with how all of the suffering comes out, it's very interesting. It's very it's very rich. But I think as a Dharma practitioner, it has to also come back to the innocent simplicity, that innocent simplicity of joy. How can you not lose that connection with the simplicity? Yeah. So I think that's really a journey. I think it's a real journey. So we're not aware of it. We don't know about it. But then at the end, you come back to this young, and you understand everything that happened, that it all happened like this, like that. You were 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, 80, whoever, 120. And then you understand that it made sense, but you're getting naked. You're not getting more dressed or more petrified into an image of yourself. Thank you.
Simply being and just be your naked self naturally and primordially. And Imee, I want
It's
to
a
come back.
journey. It's a journey. Yeah, it's a journey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
still ongoing journey, right? And Imee, I want to come back to you. And how do you achieve like oneness with the work, the songs that you're making, the music that you are singing, and then how do you attain that kind of oneness? And then Yumma also say that it's like being an artist, it's like in borderline between hell and heaven, between sanity and insanity. How do you maintain this kind of balance?
I was listening very intensely with all the speakers here tonight. And I think the first thing I want to answer this question is like, I think I have to disqualify myself as an artist in the first place. Why? Because I just, when my work is being recognized quite with a lot of people, and then I started to notice a lot of artists, they are always, maybe I could, no offense, weird, especially those who have done it very, very successfully. They kind of have a inner self that, they are either hard to talk to, or they are always in anger, or they are always in deep thought. And I think a lot of like even the famous pianists like the Beethoven, Chopin, I think a lot of them didn't end up a happy life, or maybe not say a happy life, a normal, human being life, that they always have a very sad story, or very intense sad story, even the pop stars and all that. And I want to talk about one thing that is always in my mind. When I see people achieve a very highly acclaimed award, being a director or a singer or whatever, when they take this award, they will do this, I am so happy I finally did it. I'm so happy. But then they're crying and they say, I want to thank my family, my wife, my husband, my blah, 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 my team. They suffered so much throughout the whole journey, they tolerated me. They took my anger and but I think then I said you should just take away the award from him. To me, as a Buddhist, I think then you are not an influencer. You don't deserve the award, because no matter how good your work is, a bestseller or a blockbuster, but you created suffering for the people beside you for the years of your creation. It means people made you this successful person. You didn't do a great job, so you disqualified yourself. So I always think in the future, I like the artists or the so-called great artist, be it a painter or a dancer or musician or director. Why don't you live a life of light? And when the day you receive this award, you thank everybody, and everybody will say, thank you. It's not just your music or everything, but you made all of us such happy, during the process. Or, we just love you so much. We didn't suffer. You don't want people to sacrifice for your success, do you? So yeah, I think I should disqualify myself as an artist. If artists should live that way, that you call that an artist, then I don't want to be qualified as an artist. Then I just want to be a normal practitioner, and I would just sing whether it's oneness or two-ness or three-ness, but whatever it is, I just want to be the bridge, as in a provider with my voice and my the moment of my talent, if there is, which is maybe permanent. So it's not something that I want to achieve higher and higher, and one day I will influence so many people. But at this moment, the now, I think the most important thing to me is the people around me. They are happy. My parents, they are happy at the work that I'm doing. They don't miss their children. They don't miss their daughter. My daughter doesn't miss the mother. My friends don't miss me as a very loving person and a very caring person. So I think I don't want people to make me a successful person, but I want to be successful because I make people successful and happy and joyful. So that's what I want to say. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very authentic and very organic from you. I mean, don't bring suffering to others while creating or expressing your own joy and happiness.
Please
Yeah,
don't do
don't
that.
bring.
Don't do
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
I remember a wisdom. I remember a wisdom quote that says, the road to hell is paved with good intention. Sometimes we as Buddhists, we think we are doing good for other people, but while we are doing that, you are bringing so much sufferings and discomforts to people around us.
Yeah.
That is really unskillful or unwise.
Yeah, actually, it's
Yeah.
very easy to see. You just ask the people around, the 50 people around you that you see daily. Do they like you? They respect you because you got what you've got a very good product? But how about as a person? Are you influencing them during the concert? Let's say the production behind the stage, was it all laughters and joy, or is that just quarrel and backstabbing and
Yeah.
all these things?
Yeah. Are you
And
telling
then
a set? Yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
Charlotte, there's a question from Christy actually. Um, so
So sorry, I don't
maybe
mean anything bad. I want to
there's a function
change
of
this.
there's a function, as we can see from your movie. There's a function for the tragedy, darkness, and traumas and suffering as well. So how would you express this kind of thing in a light-hearted way or in a meaningful way so that your viewers can understand what you really want them to know or to understand actually?
I think we as a human being, we do have darkness within us. Yeah, I mean everyone do. Yeah, so we have to admit that. And me as a filmmaker, I'm not intentionally to focus. Oh, I want to make a films to make people feel like feel sad or feel trauma after they watch the film. That is never my intention, you see. Although the film, the theme itself could be quite a dark, quite a heavy story, but the thing is, I just hope people with that same experience, they will feel that they are not alone, you see. I also shared your dark side, you see. You are not alone. So in a way, I'm also hoping to give strength to people. And like when Imee said, the work of an artist and the artist itself should be, you shouldn't ask people to suffer because of your success. I think that is quite tricky in the filmmaking world, you see, because filmmaking it involves so many people, and you will love the directors when you work with him. Of course, you will like you like his work, but after some time, he or she will show temper. He will start scolding people if the things doesn't go the way he wants, you see. So it depends on how we take it, you see, whether we take it as he's making noise without any sense, or we also as team members, as we have to play our parts, you see. So I think it's quite a tricky things to handle people relationship. I would say it's always a life lesson to me. Every time I work with different teams, then I have to deal with different people. And yeah, that is quite interesting. Everyone is creating a films on big screen, but backstage, I think the story happened backstage backstage is more interesting than what is showing on screen. I will say that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Sheila. I think there's a
More drama
question
happening
from,
backstage.
and I think we are making the dramas and dharma happening all together, you know. Karyong says synchronicity, you know, synchronize, everything is synchronized in a flow. Okay. And then I believe there's a question from the audience. Brother Chang, can you display the question? Hi, Charlotte. This is a question from Darren Campbell RD. Hi, Charlotte. Are your films available on YouTube?
Not on YouTube, but it's on Vimeo.
Vimeo. Okay. 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 I think that you. So, any question from each and every one of you to each other?
Can I just
Yeah,
answer
sure.
what Charlotte said? I think
Yes.
I don't mean, because we are human, we have our emotions and that side. So
Mhm.
what I'm trying to say is, like, if you are the leader of one group, and if you are practicing Dharma, I think please put the Dharma first, then your vision, and then you have to look around your people, instead of you just focus on, you want to make an award-winning product. But I feel that the energy and the atmosphere around you, it's more important than making an award-winning show. So I think that the human world is already, there are so many people suffering because they have to earn a living. They got so many problems at home. I think if you want to be an influential people, as in like a leader, be it a director or whatever, I think we should just make sure to make a world better. Maybe you should just do the cultivation part, put more focus on it. And what I'm saying is, like, I don't think they deserve to win an award, in that sense that when they it's just that it irritates me a lot, and say when they cry and then they thank everybody who suffer for him. I think it's a very weird thing to me. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any feedback from Anne as well as Yumma?
Excuse
About
me?
this? I think any feedback from you, Yumma, about this?
Yes. I think it's very difficult sometimes to. I really agree in the same time with Imee Ooi. In the same time, I think it's not completely black and white. Like you say, it's irritating, but actually irritation is dark in itself. No, so why would they irritate me? So it's really. Like, for example, sometimes when you're in the process, that's why joy is a difficult word to talk about, because joy is the basic thing, no? But it's true that in the process, like, you feel that you are, for example, imagine you're in art, you're creative, but you need to get through something that changes yourself. It changes what you do. It changes the way you do it. I mean, as an artist, but also as a teacher, because very often in dance we are in both, no? Very often we are dancing, but we are also teachers. So we also have to relate with the fact that the other person sometimes needs a little bit of push or needs a little bit of love. So I agree with Imee Ooi in the sense that it's very important that we understand how much the goodness of human being is absolutely a question of survival. We are basically good, and we should really realize that, because nowadays it's time that we understand it. Maybe it's scientific, Anne, that we are basically good, because the human, if I look at all nature, the human being has the capacity to create really the harmony among all life. And we're doing the opposite. So of course, artist is important, because artist points out the symbolism of the unconscious mind. So all people are influenced by artists, always. So if the artist is always thinking about his own importance and his belly bottom, of course it's a problem, no? Because at one point it would be so important that the artist, maybe he does work with the darkness, but he's bringing light. So that's why I think it's not all black and white, because sometimes you can do an art that it looks all so nice, but at the end it's not true. And you can also do an art that is very challenging on the sense of sorting out your emotions, but actually in the emotion that themselves, there is the source is wisdom. So I really like to work with art as the five wisdom pattern of the mandala, because I think this is a way that we can try to accept that form is emptiness, emptiness is form, but form does create energy, and that energy does move us. And how, as a human being, we develop intelligence in relationship with these elements, the elements that moves us. So we're not dark, we're not light, we're like, how you say, the perception becomes not a true perception. Do I say it okay in English, Sherrod?
Sure.
So
Definitely.
that true perception, and the true perception, I think, in ways really related to this basic goodness. So I agree with you. On another hand, I don't think it can be a definition of how we should be or we should not be, because it takes a lot of different forms. Sometimes on a stage you really have to suffer a little bit so that you can sort out your goodness,
Okay.
sometimes.
Seems like there's a balance, between black and white and a colorful journey towards the kind
and your
of
transformation, the transformation is letting go of habits, and that usually is not always nice to feel.
Okay.
Yeah. If you let go of something, you're letting go of something of yourself, and sometimes it's a little bit like the moment it happens, it hurts, and then you feel great once it hurts. Yeah.
Okay, how about Anne? What's your feedback on this? We're talking about all this.
I think listening to everyone's excellent answer, I can only say that in the end, it comes down to the sense of community, and hopefully a healthy community.
Yes, of course.
I already have the topic for our next discussion. It's called trauma, dramas, and lamas and dharma.
It's
And okay, I believe there's a question from the audience as well, from Rochelle Wilton. Question from Anne. Okay, I can't see the question well actually.
Okay. I can see it. I see it.
How does your work help the practice lineage in the Buddha Dharma?
I think that preservation in general and in specific is really important to preserve the information, again, that originally came from texts, wasn't available to many people, became available through visual art and through performance art, dance and music. Preservation is important because it preserves the source information for meditation practice, for our generation and for future generations. Any work I do is just a small part of it. Again, there's a sense of community in this work, which is very necessary. Community and respect.
Okay, thanks, and so I think we have achieved our mark of 1.5 hours. So any last remarks from all of you? Yeah, how to achieve, my question is how to achieve joyful living through arts, and maybe you start from Imee.
Joyful living. I think we have to just move on and take every moment's experience and people that we meet along our way to see whether you actually have lived a joyful life or not. I always think this will not be there will not be an answer until you breathe your last breath, you know the last moment, and you say, what a joyful life this is, or I have not found it, or you will not even think of it, I don't know. So I think when Christie was here earlier on, she said, what I feel like I want to be like a bodhisattva. I think, why not? If Kuan Yin can be Kuan Yin, Taras can be Taras, why can't we be another angel or Tara or whatever? So I think now the life for me is, I will not consciously think if I want to seek for it, whether my life I have attained something be it joyful or not. But I want to have the ability to take on whatever that comes to me. I accept it as my karma to learn or to upgrade, or maybe I will also downgrade myself. I don't know. And also, I will take it as accept it. Then, like what the great master Sheng Yan has said, you accept it, then you deal with it, and then you let it go. So I don't know which part of it has got the joyful being embedded, and which part of these three things. But I think, but definitely during these 2 years, the most tangible joy, that if I could call it joy, because I don't know what joys are, but maybe you just feel like every day you wake up in the morning, you look forward to your day. And every day when you're out there, you also look forward to come back to your home. So there's no separation between your work and your home. There's not a moment you think that I want to get out of this moment. So every moment is a moment that you want to deal with, you want to accept it. And then after that, you let go of it, and then you move on to the next one. I think joy to me is like when I see people, I can help someone take care of their problems, even to the most small deed that I can do for them. I think it's better than having a very grand intention to achieve in the future. Yeah. So this is my thought. Yeah.
After this round, we are going to ask Imee you to sing a few songs or play a few music.
Few songs.
Or one or two songs.
Aren't we already out of time?
Yeah. It's okay. We still have time. Don't worry. Brother Chang can do.
Okay. Sure. I mean.
So yeah. Since today is Kuan Yin's, I think Kuan Yin's Enlightenment Day. Yeah. So it's auspicious for us to listen some melodies from you. Okay, Charlotte, what's your conclusion for today's discussion and dialogue?
Okay, sorry, I was disconnected, but I managed to listen to your questions. I think my response to your question is live a joyful life with no fear to your own thoughts and emotion. Be no fear to your own self. Yeah. Thank you.
Total acceptance. Yeah. Thank you, Charlotte. And
Such beautiful answers so far. Thank you. I've learned from your answers. Joyful living in terms of service to others. And if I can be of service to anyone who's watching, if you have a preservation question, please contact me. It'll bring me great joy to be of service to you. Thank you.
And very joyful to have connected to you as well. Thank you, Anne. And Yumma.
Yeah, the rhythm is the key for joy. So sing and dance, ladies and gentlemen, that makes you joyful.
Sing and dance, and joy means just open up yourself. Joy, just open yourself. Okay, then last but not least, may I invite Imee Ooi to sing us a few hymns of
Sure.
Dharma.
So I will sing one in Mandarin that's praising the name of Avalokiteshvara Kuan Yin. And then probably I will develop into Brintara mantra. All right?
Okay. Thank you.
Namo观世音菩萨 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 Tare tu re soha Tare tu re soha Tare tu re soha Tare tu re soha Namo Quan Shi Yin Pu Sa 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 Dare tu re soha. Dare tu re soha. Dare tu re soha. Dare tu re soha. May
Such a
all be well
joyful,
and happy.
yeah, may all be well and happy. Thank you for such a joyful music from
Most
Imee
welcome.
Ooi. Thank you. Thank you for having such a joyful discussion with all of you. Thank you, Imee. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, Yumma. So now may I invite two Samishas to come in to make some announcement and dedication prayer as well. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. I thank each and everyone, our contributors and Brother Sharaf as well for hosting this program. I don't have words to thank you all. The way you expressed your work, connecting it with Dharma, the way it helps you to cultivate, and the way you have experienced life, you have worked in your own particular fields. It was really very delightful to listen to you, and I hope our audience must have also enjoyed it a lot. So once again, I thank you everyone for spending your time with us, coming to Satwa. I hope you will join us next time as well. Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
Yeah, from my side too, it was very joyful and interesting discussion. It was like having hearing your all like different experience in your field. It was very good. So we have some upcoming events. Um, so we have an uncommon dialogue between Buddhist meditative traditions. This would be part two, which will be held on 31st October. And our topic entitled as How to Meditate Correctly, Shunyata and its View, Meditation and Action. And our guest speaker will be Khenpo Sonam Seva, Myung An Sunim, and Dr. Giuliano. So please do join with our coming events, and I hope to some extent that the project could help our viewers to connect with the Dharma. Yeah. So as always, thank you for tuning in, our audience. Oh, sorry. Again,
There
we
will be
have
a
one more event.
Samisha series. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have one more event on 7th November, which will be a conversation on the Yogacara School of Buddhist Philosophy, and our guest speaker will be Brother Bem Mitru, which we both Samiksha are going to lead.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I would like to conclude this session by inviting Samiksha to lead us into dedication prayer.
Okay. Thank you, Samiksha. The four great vows. Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to save them all. Delusions are endless. We vow to cut through them all. The teachings are infinite. We vow to learn them all. The Buddha way is inconceivable. We vow to attain it. May all beings be well, happy, and safe. Once again,
Thank
thank
you.
you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
Good night,
much.
Thank
everyone.
you. Good night. Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Thank you.